It was a real eye-opener, and I loved that getting inside you, because that's what you say. That's where a lot of it is. It's inside you, and it comes out in your read.
Oh, it helps me put you where you fit. Not everybody is going to be LA actors. Not everybody is going to be New York or Georgia. You know, they want to come play with the big fish and the big people. I'm not to say that you can't, but you're not at the level. If I'm hearing something, I'm like, no, you're not at the level. So in order for you to be, and I use the word competitive, this is serious competition now. We've gotten to the point where the voiceover industry is shrinking. It's shrinking. It doesn't matter what field in the voiceover industry, narration, promo, blah, 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 etc. There was so much work in the 90s. There was so much work in the 80s. There was so much work in the 2000s. And because of the new technology and the world is shifting and changing. So you as a performer need to know where you fit. Why waste time?
Life gets tough, and I know it's hard to cope with the unknown. For all of us, I know it'd be easy if we were perfect, but we're not. So we go to find our fate, to find our hope. It all begins with looking up. It all begins with you. It's time to elevate.
Welcome to another episode of Time to Elevate podcast. I'm your host, Ann Lucente, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today, and you're going to be thrilled too. I love that podcasting gives me the excuse to hang out with, laugh with, and be inspired by people who lift me up, many of whom I'm lucky enough to call friends. Today's guest fits that description perfectly. We crossed paths a few years ago at a Teach-a-thon in New York City, and from that moment, I knew there was something special about him. He has a rare gift for truly seeing people almost as if he's looking right into your soul. Now, even though he's been soaking up the sunshine in LA for quite some time, don't be fooled, because he's a true New Yorker at heart. That no-nonsense, direct, truthful attitude, that's what connects us so well. He tells it like it is, with no sugarcoating. Sure, his straightforwardness might intimidate some, but trust me, underneath it all, he's got a heart of gold, and he wouldn't want me to tell you that. Before we kick things off, I'd love to tell you a little bit about him. His personal journey began in the Big Apple, took him to Georgia, where he graduated from Clark Atlanta University, and then led him to Los Angeles, where he has been working in the voiceover industry for over 3 decades. He has contributed to hit animated primetime shows, including The Simpsons, King of the Hill, Men in Black, Jackie Chan Adventures, Hellboy, and X-Men Evolution, just to name a few. He has also collaborated with animation industry giants such as Disney and Columbia TriStar. One of the most valuable experiences that he brings to the table is his time as booth director for an LA-based talent agency. So whether you're new to voice acting, in the middle of your journey, or a seasoned pro, he's got what it takes to move you to the next level or keep you at the top. His no-nonsense, straightforward approach to coaching and teaching keeps you grounded, keeps you real, and keeps you true to who you are. So, without further ado, let's welcome my no-nonsense, straightforward, and intensely real friend, voice acting director, animation coach, demo director, and so much more, the one and only Everett Oliver.
Thank you so much for having me. That's my morning voice right now. No nonsense.
That is your professional voice.
Professional, no nonsense, straightforward. Good morning, everyone, I should say, whatever time zone that you're listening to. Wow, what an introduction. That was great. I'm gonna hire you to do openings for my opening. That was great.
Was it? I would love to do that, Everett.
Yeah, you might have to be on my publicity staff. I have to figure that out.
That is the biggest compliment I've gotten in my entire life.
Like, wow. I was like, oh my God. I was like, keep going. I was like, who is that? Is she talking about me? So yes.
I love it. I love that you said that, because it means so much to me, because I'm like, I got to do this guy justice, because I just love you so much and you crack me up. You're so
No, that was great. Huh? No, that was.
Well, the good news is you will be able to hear it over and over again, because when the podcast comes out, you'll be able to see it. So, and I'm here for you. You need a live announce? It's me. You need me to do any intros for you? You got it. I'm doing it for you.
Okay. Be careful what you ask for. That's what I'm learning.
Oh, I would love it. I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. Do you remember when we met? You probably don't.
It was in a class in New York.
Do you remember where?
at Abacus.
No, but I did see you there too after that. I did see you after that. Actually, that I never saw you in person there. I saw you were on the TV. Um, it was Karen Gilfrey and the voice actors of NYC. It was she had a bunch of
Oh,
teach-a-thons.
you were there. Oh, you were
Yes.
there, but there was 58. There was 58 students. We were in a small studio brick building off of West 6th or West 8th or something.
Yeah, somewhere. It was
Astor
down
Place.
all the way down.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't know you were in that class. That class was insane. That was an insane
It was
class.
great.
It was insane.
There were other teachers, right?
No, that was the day when I was in New York and 58 students showed up. And I was only supposed to read 13 people within a 3-hour time period. I wind up reading 58 of you. You all had one take during that whole thing. And I was like, nope, you need to do this. And this is the reason why, blah, blah, blah. And I remember
Yes.
Karen's face was like, oh my God. I went through all 58 people within 3 hours and I gave everybody one take. But I didn't say just read and sit. I told them what was wrong with their read and their personality. Why is your wall up? Blah, blah, blah. Like I gave full blown feedback and criticism, and they were just like, oh my God. Yeah, I remember that. I didn't know you were in that class. That class was deep. That was a deep class.
It was great.
Yeah.
And yes, and you know what it was? I loved it. You were so
animated?
Whatever. I want to say animated, but that's not the right word. You know what I mean? You were so into it, like you said.
I was into that. That was one of those moments that when you just go, because I heard what I was feeling and sensing was I wanted everybody. It was like after I was going to the 13th person, it was like, you can't just read 13. You got to keep going. Everybody came to see you. They want to know about you. They want to know what the real deal is about what's going on in Los Angeles. And so you had 3 hours to just do your thing. And my New York kicked in and was just moving quickly. And I was just like, no, this is the situation. This is what's going on. You're not going to be up to a LA standard because LA and New York are two different places.
Exactly.
As far as, television is concerned, and everybody wants to do the big stuff. And that's not what they do in New York. And it was like, you have no idea who you're competing against. You have no idea. And so I totally remember that night. And it was very eye-opening. I did get a lot of feedback from a lot of people that from that.
It was. And now that you say it, I remember because she had other teach-a-thons and there were let's say 5 or 6 teachers and they would do their thing and whatever, but that was just you because now I remember I took advantage of you gave us like this little special if we coached with you and I'm like, oh, I'm calling him. I'm calling and I did right after that. I totally did. And it was a real eye-opener and I loved that getting inside you because that's what you say. That's where a lot of it is. It's inside you and it comes out in your read. It's like so crazy
because of who I am. And I just said this to one of my students yesterday. It helps me put you where you fit in the world. Not everybody is going to be LA actors. Not everybody is going to be New York or Georgia. Everybody wants to, they want to come play with the big fish and the big people. I'm not to say that you can't, but you're not at the level. If I'm hearing something, I'm like, no, you're not at the level. So in order for you to be, and I use the word competitive, this is serious competition now. We've gotten to the point where the voiceover industry is shrinking. It's shrinking regardless of, doesn't matter what field in the voiceover industry, narration, promo, blah, 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 etc. There was so much work in the 90s. There was so much work in the 80s. There was so much work in the 2000s. And because of the new technology and the world is shifting and changing. So you as a performer need to know where you fit. Why waste time? Life is now too short. And so when people come to me, I'm like their problem solver. They're like, hey, I've been studying with all of these people. And then I say to them, that person wasn't the right fit for you, right?
Right.
And then they look at me just because, it's so funny because I had a dream about this just last night. Just because everyone is going to this person That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to follow in the same footsteps. And
Very
that's
true.
the issue, and that's the problem. Everybody thinks
Mhm.
that, oh, if I go and I study with X, Y, and Z, I'm going to be making blah, blah, blah. And I
Mm.
guarantee you that person who you've worked with don't know anything. They might know maybe, I'll say 5% of you.
Mhm.
When you're gonna study with me, I'm probably gonna know 90 to 95%. I'm gonna know what time you get up in the morning. I'm gonna know stuff about your family. I'm gonna know stuff that you're gonna just look at me and go, how do you know that? And I'm gonna say, just don't worry about it. Let's keep going. Let me figure out where you fit. Let me
Yep.
send you to, I even do referrals. I send people to people.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
even tell you where your markets are. People just
Mhm.
look at
You've
me,
done this for
and I've done
me.
that.
You've done
And
this for
I'll
me.
say, that's not your market. Why are you shooting at a market that you know you're not gonna book work?
Mhm. No, it's true, and also, like you're saying, like, you get into the person, like, that's why I always say to you, "Remember I told you?" And you're like, "Oh my god." Like, I work with a million people, I haven't talked to you in, like, 6 months, but I feel like you know me, Everett, how do you not know? I mean, you will remember, obviously, if
Oh,
I say, and you'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I remember that." But I feel like I'm the only person, like, I'm your only friend, Everett.
well, I deal with so many different personalities, and like I could fit the personality, but it's just I've had to train some strategies too as I've gotten older and gotten more out in the public eye. But it's a thing of that's my strength. That's my superpower
Yeah,
is for
yeah,
me to navigate you what I called a system.
mhm,
Once
yeah,
you've got to know the system. There's a system in every field. Doesn't matter if you're an engineer, doesn't matter if you work in healthcare, doesn't matter if you work in corporate. You I've lived my life through that. I've navigated through a system. Once I know the system, and then finding out all the players.
mm,
That's why I use, for example, working at a talent agency. They all do the same thing. All the agencies do the same thing. They
yeah,
they answer the phone. They take the bookings. Some will pitch you, some won't pitch
mhm,
you. They all do the exact same thing. Some might get better copy than others, depending on who their
mm,
relationships are. But I
mhm,
can't, me going into a talent agency, I learned it later on in life than when I was younger in my 20s. And it took me probably up 4 or 5 years to figure out, oh, this is how the talent agency world works.
mhm,
I would have been a
that's
talent.
true.
I believe I probably would have been a talent agent if I started it earlier at 20.
Okay.
When I mean early, I'm talking about in my 20s. You know,
Okay.
because of the,
Well, then tell me, now that you're mentioning this, so where did you first of all, tell me where before the voiceover world, like, tell me about you just a little, and how did you get into that part? Was it that the first thing you did was into the
so I
casting?
no. So when I first started, I started in production. I
Okay.
worked with artists and producers in animation and executives in animation. That's really my basic foundation of how I got into it and learned everything, the behind the scenes of how to actually make an animated series. So with all of that knowledge was like, oh, the voices didn't even exist in my world when I did production. And then changing in between different companies, I had I worked for a producer, I worked for a manager, supervisor, I can't remember, and she said to me, "Oh, Everett, you should work in casting." I didn't even know what that was, and so I learned the casting aspect of it and applied that casting aspect of, okay, so I got that part of the business. So I learned the animation production side of the business. I learned the development side of the business. So that was a small chunk. And then I learned the casting aspects of it. And then it was lucky enough that all the shows that I had worked on had, either canceled, and me soaking up everything like a sponge, learning how the networks evolve into that whole process of your show, whether your show was going to get picked up. So I'm really a person that comes from the TV side of the business, along with casting, along with management, along with development. And I took all of those skills I learned And then after I learned that, I went over to working at an agency. And so when I worked at the agency, everybody was like, oh, he worked on animated stuff, prime time and Saturday morning. So having the best of both worlds. Even people come to me that want to do a show and say,
Oh, that's great.
Everett, I got this idea. How do I get into it? Because they
Right.
don't. People very little know that I worked in development. And I
Mm-hmm.
know how the networks. I know network TV. I come from network TV, prime time, Saturday
Mm-hmm.
morning, and so
Wow.
I really was a ratings junkie when I was a kid because that's all I did was I didn't have a Nelson box, but I sucked that stuff up. And
Yeah.
so once I got into, like I said, working with the agencies, I had an actor who said, because everybody thought, oh, I was moving to California to become an actor. I was like,
Mm.
you see, if you could see my facial expression, you would understand.
That's what I love.
That's
There's no denying what you're
no,
thinking.
because of the simple fact that you going. One of my students who's older said to me, "You've gone to Hollywood,"
Mm.
and I'm looking at them like, "And what's your point?" Because I don't understand what
Right.
that means. Everybody always wants to thrive in Hollywood, and I'm like,
Mm.
and we New Yorkers.
Right.
Who cares? Let's get real.
I'm not
I'm
impressed.
not
I'm not
impressed. Exactly. We're not
impressed.
impressed. That's my
No.
thought. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
so I've been in Hollywood. I mean, now I will say now I'm crossing into my 30th year in Hollywood.
You're still in New York. I'm
And I'm still
sorry.
a New Yorker. And people can't take the fact is that they can't. And I know they can't. They're like, oh my God. And I lived in the South too. So with my
Oh yeah.
Southern charm, as I like to
Yeah.
put it, I'm an honorary Southerner who went to
I love it.
a black university.
I love that.
So
I
I'm
love
like,
that.
I'm well
Yes.
rounded. I'm very well
Mm-hmm.
rounded. I could fit in, but I've used all of
Mm-hmm.
those skill sets into my life and into my career, and I've paid attention to
Mm-hmm.
people around me. And that's how I started my own business because I had one of my, at the agency, because everybody was like, oh, you should be an agent. I said, for what?
Mm.
What do I need to be an agent for? I did that in casting. So I
Mm-hmm.
turned down being an agent because I didn't want you actors harassing me. You actors harass me
I
now.
was just I was gonna say it's not an easy job. Casting, agency, the
No,
whole thing is not easy.
no,
That
no.
people think that's an easy thing and fun. I don't think that's fun. I
Well,
can't see it as being
it
a
can
ton of
it
fun.
can be when you're working on an animated series. It can be fun because you
Mm,
come up with all these names who would fit that role. Who would fit that
true.
part. And then there's actors who you'd be like, I'm gonna test them. Because
Mhm.
sometimes they're like, oh, I'm not a right fit. And I'm like, read the copy. You don't see
Right.
what we see.
True.
You know what I'm
True.
saying? Just go ahead and read the
Yeah.
copy. You never know. And if you're not right for something, we'll
Mhm.
always remember you for something else. So just,
Mm. Right.
be open-minded to it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
in hindsight and learning all of this stuff because I was very green, but I was very
Mm.
knowledgeable. And so
Mhm.
for me, I bring something different to the voiceover industry that nobody else did. And I just was talking to one of my students and they said to me, that's why I'm very like, hands on with people. And they say,
Mhm.
I move mountains and knock down doors because I don't
Mhm.
know how long we have or I have. And so it makes me happy when someone says to me 3 months later, Everett, I booked that thing that we auditioned with. And I'm looking at him. Now, if you could see my
You're
facial
like, "What
expression,
thing?"
right. Or Everett,
Yes.
you got me an agent, or you got me
Mm.
in front of the doors, or you encouraged me that I didn't know. Like I just encouraged somebody to do a podcast. They were like, I'm like, you'd be
Mm.
great to do a podcast. They were like,
That's
they're just
great.
and they're looking at me. And I love the
Mhm.
look of, you don't know what you're talking about. You just talking smoke. And then they go do it and they go, oh wow, Everett told me to do that. It's stuff
Yeah.
like that that excites me because I'm putting stuff
Mhm.
into people's world. Yeah, it might not
Mhm.
have been like yes, I've booked people who've gotten an animated series who's not done it ever before, or they booked a guest role. But
Mhm.
it's just a little stuff just to motivate them to say, why aren't you doing, like I just told somebody yesterday, why aren't you doing e-learning?
Mm.
They just looked at me. Everett, I never even thought about that. I'm like, do you not know the stuff that it's stuff that they miss that I catch that,
Right.
and to be truthfully, yes, everybody wants to do animation.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. But
Mm-hmm.
the problem is that there's so many people auditioning. They're not doing the research. You know how many
Right.
casting people who are out here who do classes? Do you think they remember you? I remember there was a time when uh, the voice directors, we call them voice directors back then, they come in, people would come in and audition and do callbacks and stuff like that. Now, I remember everything about them. They wore glasses. They had the yellow bow in their hair. They wore this
Ah.
dress. They had this sound. And the casting people looking at me like, Everett, who is that? You don't remember such and such she made you, and then they go, oh, yeah. I remember little silly stuff like that.
That's
That will
great.
make it's like what Liz Atherton would say, a first impression.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's stuff like that that sticks to me, that I remember people. People call me, people email me, people, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, is that tough. I'm the tough love in voiceover,
Mm-hmm.
because the fact of the matter is that why waste your time? Why waste your money?
True.
And
That's
this is a
true. We don't need to just hear it's good. It's good. Oh, great, great. If it's good, great. But if you don't, that's not what we need.
or having smoke blown up your behind. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like,
Right.
really, I,
As a
yeah,
side
this
note,
side note.
Everett will not
Yes.
blow smoke up your
Yeah, I don't have
behind.
the energy. I don't have the energy and the patience
No, it's not
for
worth it.
that.
Mm-mm.
So, but
It's
that's just
definitely not
me in a
worth it.
nutshell of how I presented myself
Mm-hmm.
to, the world and stuff like that. And if I'm not a right fit, I'm okay with me being a right
Where
fit.
your
I'm
feelings are
not,
not
my
hurt.
feelings are not, no, because sometimes I feel like they'll be back.
It's true. It's true though, because sometimes when you start, especially when you just start, you're like at the point where you're afraid to hear anything. Now I'm like, tell me it all. I need to know what's happening. You get to a different point. At the beginning, it's terrifying. You don't know. You're afraid of everything. You've
Mhm.
got now you're an engineer. You're this. You're that. But then you want to know all that later. When did you start the business on your own? What year was that in?
2016. I did 5 years
Okay.
to the day. I did 5 years. I ended being working at a
Wow.
booth director. I had listened to five. There were days I listened to 500 auditions, and the ear
Wow.
gets tired.
Yeah.
And me chasing down actors for the auditions. I used to go. Oh, I had a good time. I was covering for actors. Actors was like, Everett, I'm in the. I said, if you don't get that audition in, so I had the agent screaming, "We need to get, we need to get Anne's audition." No, you in the car. You are in the car on your way home, and I'm calling you as they're
Oh,
screaming.
no.
The agents are screaming like, "Hey, we need to get this file. Where's Anne's thing? We want to." And I'm like this, and I'm like, "Girl, I don't.
Oh my
If
gosh.
I was you, if I was you." They're
Get
like, "But I'm
home,
not gonna
get out of
be.
that
I'm
car.
not gonna be home for another like 15 minutes." And I'm stalling. I'm coming up with everything
God. Oh
out.
my god.
She has to drop her kid. She doesn't have any children. Oh my God, that's the one. Oh, no, that's the other Anne. I'm making up.
Uh,
I'm a good storyteller, as Uncle Roy say. I'm a great storyteller. I make up
that
stuff.
is too funny. I love that. I love that. I want to take a second now and I want to play that audition that you don't remember because although I think you should remember the rest of your life, because when you hear it now, you're going to remember it. I had an audition come in. We won't say who it was for, but it was a big audition. And you also do that kind of coaching.
Mhm.
Like if somebody calls and says, I don't know how much advance notice you need, but I have this big audition, I need help. You do that, correct? It could be
Yes,
15 minutes, could be, in my case, a very
long,
long time.
very long
And
time.
you will know
Hmm.
when you hear the difference in these two. So I'm going to play it live. Now, this is my horrible.
This is your
Can't
first
take it.
pass. Just say it's your first pass.
This is my first pass. Without you there, you said, read the audition, email it to me. I'm thankful that either you didn't listen before you saw me or you listened and I didn't see your face because here's mine. You ready?
I'm ready.
Here it goes. It's your first day. If one of us is going to be late, I'd rather it's me. Now hop in. Oh, and here I thought you were excited about learning. Turns out you just want to play D&D all day. Wow, you haven't even started a fancy school and you're already trying to replace me? Oh, that hurts, Brian. I guess I'll just have to spend my nights watching mindless reality TV shows again. Brian, somebody get some help. I knew this was coming. I know, it can be embarrassing. So if you don't want to shower after gym, you don't have to. Tell your teacher I said. So that was my lovely audition. I would love your feedback. Give me feedback. You were good, though. The face looks good. It's very calm.
I'm like, you're a mom. Like, that wasn't even like as everybody basics. Who are you talking to? What am I saying? Why am I saying it? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, and that's not even new. I don't even know what that was. I was like, you know.
And that's what you said to me. I don't know what that was. I know you. That's not you. Okay, so you want to hear the good one?
The final.
I love this. I keep this on my desktop to be, this is the way you're supposed to do things. Okay, here it goes. I love this. And Lucente. Oh, yes! It's your first day! If one of us is going to be late, I'd rather it's me. Now hop in. Ah, and here I thought you were excited about learning. Turns out you just want to play D&D all day. Wow, you haven't even started at your fancy school, and you're already trying to replace me? That hurts, Brian. I guess I'll just have to spend my nights watching mindless reality TV shows again. Brian! Somebody get some help! I knew this was coming. I know it can be embarrassing, so if you don't want to shower after gym, you don't have to. Tell your teacher I said. Is that not phenomenal?
Well, it's better. Now we need to do a third take live.
We could do a third take live, but no, we're not doing it now. But oh my God, Everett. Okay, you people listening, if that didn't convince you that you need to coach with Everett or at least get his opinion or help on something or whatever. I mean, really, Everett, it did not take me 15 minutes to do that.
No, but your true self, came out. And that's a problem that I hear now in today's 2024, 23, 24. People don't know who they are. They're discovering who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I've become now a therapist. I've now become a guidance counselor. I've now become, the person of reason, and it's like, oh, I didn't realize that was fitting my job description, but it's like,
Yes.
but I'm finding a lot of people of their stuff that's happened to them in their past, they can't move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got to go through all of this. And that's what I mean when I'm saying when you're not ready, because the actors who are ready, they just do it. They don't have time to be thinking about it. They're not worrying about bills, the dog barking, blah, blah, blah. It's a thing. This is a fast moving industry. Even though things are happening and things are changing, you've got to be ready. You've got to be up on your game. You've got to be able to, listen, you meet people every day. If you're shy behind that glass, meeting executive producers and producers, you don't think that they can't see that? They can't hear that?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and I said this before, you want to know what it's really, really about? The entertainment industry is about ratings for television and movies and theater, and TV is all about dollars and voiceover. It's all about money. And so if you are not up to par in your acting, in your life, they are like, that's a one-time job. They're going to hire you. You will never see those people again. And that's for real. I've seen it.
Yeah. It takes a lot of work when you have a lot of stuff, and I don't know if it's just my generation, but I feel like I have a lot of stuff. I've worked through a lot of stuff, but I still have to talk to myself a lot of the time. And I'll be like, I'll listen to an audition I did. I'm like, oh my God. Like I sat in on one of your workshops, which was awesome. I not sat in, I participated. And when I heard the audition I had sent in, I'm like, what? I listened to it too at the time. I'm like, who is that person? Like, why am I doing that? And some I hit right on, some I feel really connected to. And things like that. And you've talked about like having your, not this word, I don't know if you named it this, but like kind of like an arsenal of people, right? Like characters, like you say, people in your life are characters, even if it's like who you're talking to. But do you also feel like you should have an arsenal of characters for yourself? Like when you get a script and you're like, oh, so-and-so would be
toolbox.
Like,
a toolbox. You should always have a toolbox.
So how do you do that? Do you think
your cell phone?
What do you do?
In your cell phone, you got pictures all the time in your cell phone.
Right.
You flip through your cell phone. All of your friends and neighbors And when you go
Mhm.
on those vacation homes and people in the background might appear in your pictures, they're all
Yeah.
characters. You've got all the
Yeah.
settings and stuff. I tell people all the time, I'm no I guess you
Oh.
want to call me nosy, but I ain't that nosy. But maybe the word is not nosy, maybe the word is aware. So I pay
Yeah.
attention. Those of you who are in New York on the subway systems, if you cannot tell me that you got characters on the subway system, let's get real. Let's be
Yes.
serious and let's be real. Those of you who are in your cars and stuff like that, when you go to, you know, let's say you go to your people have house parties, all your
Mhm.
little theater people and all that stuff, all of them are characters.
Yeah.
I didn't say imitate them.
Mm.
I said use them as references.
Okay.
That's what you're
So,
doing.
like,
And then all of a sudden the
to
character is going to come to you. This is like my Aunt Myrtle. My Aunt Myrtle is
okay.
this, and this. You're taking your personality, you're taking her
Mhm.
personality, and you're combining it and you're creating a character. I mean,
Oh, that makes
it's stuff
sense.
like that. And then for those of you who don't know who you are, you know, your little
Mhm.
family
Right.
reunions that you hate to go to, or I should say some of you love to go to, and that aunt and uncle who was just a little off. Oh my god, those are like the best characters. Oh, the ones who are just clowns that are just fun and you hadn't seen in 5 to 6 years or 7 years. Oh my god,
Yeah.
Th- those are characters. Those are the kind of people who you need to just watch, and you're just
I
grabbing
like that.
just a little bit of them.
Mhm.
You know, so you have to just
Mhm.
be aware because you're gonna be put on the spot one day, and one day you're gonna book a show and the casting person is going to say, "Hey, I want you to do one or two incidental characters. What you going to do?
Mm. Mhm.
Stand there, and but I
Mhm.
got booked for the lead, or I got booked for supporting, or I got booked for this
Yeah.
particular role." And I'm like, "You can't do one line of a store clerk. Let's get real.
Right. Right.
You can't be a security guard. You can't do three lines of a security guard because
Right.
you're processing and you're thinking." And I'm like, listen, you could take your you could take your family members clear right off the bat.
Mm.
Strangers, your neighbors. You got to interact with somebody, even though you're an introvert. You got to interact with somebody. You go to the grocery store.
Right.
You pick up the newspaper. You even talking to trash people. I mean, come on.
Right, right, right. So you should have this ready ahead of time. I'm talking
Absolutely.
for myself too. I'm asking you this ahead of time. I don't have this prepared. So a lot of the times when I have to do even on a regular copy, nothing out of the ordinary, I have to do 2 and 3 takes. It tortures me because I'm always like, "Okay, I got the first one. Now I'm kinda screwed." I was
Well, you need to be
like
able to do one and two. I mean, come with your one of the reads should be a point of view read. What's
Mm,
your opinion?
okay.
Give me your
Mm,
opinion. Give me your experience. Your personal. Everybody goes through your own personal experiences.
mhm.
You need to add that into your commercial read. You need to add that into your narration. You need to add that
Right.
into your video games. I mean, that's what some of the video game casting people are also. They want to know your heritage. They want to know your family background. If you're Scottish, or whatever, they
Mm,
not just the accent. They want to know what the Scottish people
right,
do that we Americans
right.
don't do. I mean, there's just so much
Mm,
different things that you need to just add to your characters and add to your performances in all the various genres. I want to know in e-learning, if you work in the education system or if you're a trainer, I want to be able to feel
mhm.
that and hear that in your read, your experience in that.
Right.
I mean, that should be
That
a
makes
read,
sense.
one of your reads,
Right.
besides you just reading it and just figuring it out. You know,
Right.
what I heard one of my colleagues say, I'll give you this tip. And I went to a dinner party 2 days ago, and I believe he worked at an ad agency. And he said to me, "Oh my God," he said, "we listened to all of those auditions and blah, blah, blah." And I said to him, "You probably, when you're listening to those auditions, something probably triggered y'all like your first love." And he sat there,
Mhm.
he said, "You're absolutely right.
Oh, wow.
It triggers them if you lost a parent." I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, we listen to the acting, but sometimes some of the producers in the room, they all get different feelings about
Mm.
what they heard.
Right.
And that's what gets them a call back. Besides
Okay.
their acting, I'm not really a voice person. I'm more or less person of I want to hear truth. I want to hear
Mm.
your truth comes through in whatever you're reading. And then I want to hear you. That's how I can tell when
Mm-hmm.
people. But that's what
Mm-hmm.
they, like I said, the casting people to listen to. And the animation is a little bit different because they're like listening for back then they were listening for if they could do multiple voices.
Mm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's I remember the networks would say, and now I can relate it to because of the internet stuff that's going on. We want to find somebody who's popular because like I said, it's about
Mm-hmm.
numbers. As somebody who's going to
Right.
bring in the audience. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
popularity, I could think of like Rob Paulson because of the fact that Rob had been. That's why they were all circling using the same old people because the
Mm.
casting people and the directors knew that they could get the performances out of the people. Rob could
Mm-hmm.
do anything. He could close his eyes and he could just do. He can go ahead and he could play this character. He could play that character. He could play this character. Pat Fraley is one of
Wow.
them that could do that too.
Mm.
They just
Mm-hmm.
intertwine and you just be like, and you just be amazed and go, oh my God, they did that.
That's
Kevin
wild.
Michael Richardson, he's the one that could do multiple different things. And he's from back east too, that can just
Mm.
switch of a dime of a hat. So Cree Summer can do
Wow.
that. She can also do that.
Ah.
But it's stuff like that back then, they're like, hey, let's get them. Remember, there was no social media back then, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
now,
Mm-hmm.
like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I look at the internet as ratings. How many followers you
Mm.
got?
Right.
If you're an
Right.
influencer,
Right.
that's kind of a big
Right.
deal because of the simple
Mm-hmm.
fact is that, because you're going to bring in an audience and that's what they're looking
Right.
for,
Right.
But
Which is a lot of pressure,
a lot of
Everett,
pressure. But
because I
things
feel like
switch though. That's the other side of the coin too is that because I pay attention to the world and so
mm-hmm.
everything shifts. So one
Mm-hmm.
thing could be hot. And then the next thing, commercial drives me insane because one thing it's like, okay, we're gonna do this read. It's gonna be very conversational. It's gonna be, I hear my actors are like, oh my god, it's everything's announcery, or we're going back to the announcer read, or what's going on because we. So it's like you give the dynamic of both the conversational,
mm-hmm.
maybe you do one take very conversational, maybe you do another take as another announcery, maybe you do a third take that you just combine the two.
Mm.
Because
Right.
really,
That's
nobody
true.
knows what anybody wants until they actually hear it. That's really the truth.
Right.
That's
Right, even if the direction, I mean, you have to stick to what they're asking for certain
absolutely,
things, but they don't know sometimes until they hear the script read how it
absolutely
might not be
right.
right.
They
So you can use that different one for your
mhm,
second or third or something
absolutely.
that you feel.
They
So
really
that's
don't.
pretty cool like
They
that.
really don't know. They literally say they know, but then the curveball comes.
Mhm.
You can have all those
Right.
specs on there, which yes, stick to the specs. But then sometimes you
Right.
got to take a risk.
Right.
If you
Right.
stand outside the box from everybody, you never
Mhm.
know.
That's true.
But the key, like I said, is the relationship. You've got to have
Mhm.
relationships with producers. You've got to have relationships with casting
Right.
people. Even you coaches, you need to have relationships with the coaches because you don't even know who the coaches might know. I've
Oh,
I
that's
have
true.
totally done stuff for actors because I have
Mhm.
relationships with people. I've
Right.
done stuff for other coaches.
Right. Yeah, that's good. I remember when we first at the beginning, when we first started coaching, it was like it was probably right after I don't remember.
Probably
It
is
was when
about 2015. Oh, you mean when you and I?
no, you and I
Oh,
were
we're probably
like you
17 or 18.
17, 18, and then again, then I took like a little break, right? Then I came back again. I think it was either during COVID or after
After
whatever. We
COVID.
were
It
on the
was
thing.
probably after.
And you said to me, I think it was after because you said to me, "You need to go out more." And I'm
Yeah.
like, I know. I feel like I'm like weird because you just said, tell by just talking to you, just my reads, you can tell like you
Mhm.
need to get out. I'm like, okay, I'll get out more. It was just like after COVID, it was like we're all like so weirded out,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But I heard you say something in an interview that I was watching you do, which makes sense to me. Like, of course, like you said, we all want to do animation, right? So when I first started, I love animation. That's what I want to do. I have a little animation demo, blah blah blah. But I do love it. It's not that I don't, but it's not
It's not your
my
niche.
top
Yeah.
thing. It's not my thing. I'm now, so just to let everybody know, you're not just an animation director, a coach, because a lot of people maybe not anymore, but they used to say, "Oh, he does
Oh, they
animation." I'm like,
all
"Yeah, but I went to him
yeah,
for
yeah, they
commercial."
all come to
I
me
yeah.
they because the predominantly of the animation,
Mhm.
because yes, my
Right.
name because I've been on so many different shows. And so the
Right.
animation is what people drive to. But I also do commercial. I also do audition
Yeah.
directing. And so I pretty much can direct. I can direct anybody
Mhm.
on whatever
Mhm.
specific various genres. I don't limit myself as to what I do. I
Mhm.
have marketed myself internationally. I'm known on 5 continents. And that's not even a
Mhm.
bragging thing. They know me down under. They know me and
That's
they
great.
know me connected in Europe.
Wow.
I made myself, I pigeoned myself all over. I've taught in Vancouver. I've taught in Toronto. I've been there.
Wow.
So
Great.
it's a thing of even I did stuff in Africa online that
Wow.
I got a client in South Africa who I'm working with
Oh,
now.
wow.
So it's not I don't limit myself to just, the United States. Um,
And you will travel to do, like, a workshop
absolutely.
or something, right? Or
Absolutely.
or whatever. Like, do you have a stipulation? Like, "Okay, if you can get X amount of things happening, I'm coming your way," or do you set up a bunch in one area
It
or
was for me at front, I was playing. I got in
Mhm.
trouble. So
Mhm.
let's I got in trouble. So when I
How'd you get in
first
trouble?
I was just doing this for fun. I was playing. I was
Right.
just playing. I was going to places that I mean, I never thought in my life that I would end up in Seattle. I mean, this was a joke.
Uh,
We New Yorkers
right.
don't think like we're like, "What?" Like, you say Seattle, people go, "What? What? Why?"
Why?
Right.
Yes,
I
why?
never thought that I would end up in Nashville. Why?
Oh, yes.
So when
Yes.
you come on, you coming from the East, yes, there's different places, it's
Yeah.
LA, blah, blah, blah. But I've gone to Chicago, I've gone to,
Mhm.
Washington, I've gone, so when I got in trouble because was my aunt and uncle will follow me on Facebook because my stupidness was clicking buttons and I was trying and it wasn't a
Checking in
bragging but
here.
absolutely because I have family members that's like oh you know
Mhm.
we just want to know where you are, things do
Right.
happen in the world.
That's
I was like
right.
I'm just having fun and blah blah blah. And Christy Bowen, she's so funny and stuff like that. I was talking to her and stuff like that, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
said to Christy, I said, um, I was like, I think I should check in with my family. And Christy's like, Everett, I think you should let them know that you are because you're just traveling all over the world, and God knows someone could
Right.
kidnap me. Which what
That's
right?
true.
So nobody knows. And so my aunt and uncle sat me down and said to me, "Are you going to make this a hobby? Are you going to make this as a career?" And
Oh,
if
I
you
love
could have
that.
saw my face, my family members are like, "You have something that you don't even know." I sat
Mhm.
down and when I got that talk and I got back to
Mhm.
LA, game was on. And so that's
Oh, I
how
love it.
it started because it was like I was having fun. I was like, hey, for the first
Mhm.
time, I was having a good time because I was out of LA. I could,
Yes.
if the ground was moving, grab my stuff.
That's
Just grab my
great.
stuff. I don't even care. Everything else is
That is
replaceable.
great.
So that's how I learned. I learned the different reads from traveling.
Mhm. Uh,
I learned
right.
stuff that my colleagues who have been doing this for a long time, and I said in a class, and you might have been in that class, and I said, um, the reads are different. I'm hearing the reads on
Mhm.
out in that's just, just we're much more free flowing in our reads in
In
California.
LA.
On the
Yes.
West, it's much more
California.
free flowing.
Mhm.
On the East, it's just like straight to the
Mhm.
point, blah blah blah.
You had
It's
said that to me, like, we pay attention to the commas and the
yeah.
periods, whereas you guys do not, you
We
flow.
improv. And then I hear
Right.
people so I was so when even though I was playing, but I was being aware and paying attention.
Mhm.
So I'm saying this early in my career when I'm traveling, because for me, I was like, I've got to put out what's happening in LA. That's what
Mm.
my intention was. People want to
Right.
know we don't live in LA. but I'm going to bring LA to you.
Mm-hmm.
So when people are going
Right.
to the conferences and all that stuff, they hear all different stuff. They say, "Oh, Everett, I hear from this coach and that coach and blah blah blah." And then I go, "I'm because I'm traveled. So when I'm listening to people, I can say
Mm-hmm.
that's what they do in LA, but you live in New York,
Right.
so you're not gonna book in New
Right.
York. You're gonna book in LA."
Right. Now, what if you're in New York, so or here, right? Sometimes I get auditions that come through, and I know they're from LA or California. Now, should I change my
But they change your
read?
read.
Should it
Change your
be more
read.
flowy and more so I gotta do that then. I like improv. I like throwing in little and it doesn't fly here. It doesn't
No, it doesn't fly in New
Yes,
York. It
it
doesn't
doesn't.
fly in Georgia. It doesn't
Mm-mm.
fly on through the whole Eastern Seaboard.
Mm-mm.
That improv stuff does not work.
Mhm.
Maybe the center part of the country, it might, depending on who the agent and stuff is, but no, it does not fly.
Right.
And so by me
Yeah.
learning all of this and putting it out there, then as the casting people, when I have an online program, so I have casting people come and producers come and teach my students, which is hilarious. And the stuff that I say to them, I told them 10, 15 years ago, and I just be sitting up there looking at them. And you know the look I be giving
Well,
them.
sometimes it's who you hear from. Like,
Absolutely.
you could hear it a million times, right? And then you hear the same thing from somebody else. You're like, "Oh my gosh." And you're like, "I just told you that, like, for 2
Mhm.
years." But just
So it's that aspect of,
yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
I'm like I said, I have mentors. I have a mentor who, you
Mhm.
know, who helps me, and we just click. We click really
Mhm.
well. They just know that they've sent people to me that I've done stuff for them. That for their students,
Mhm.
they're like, go to Everett. Everett knows because Everett's in
Right.
LA and he knows
Right.
all of those people. He knows how to move and shake. I'm a move and shaker. I don't have. I'm in the
Mhm.
point in my life now that I don't have time for no nonsense. I'll be nice
Right.
at this rate.
Right.
So if you don't
Right.
see me, there's a reason why
Mhm.
you don't see me. Because
Right.
I'm more or less now of a person of I'm true to who I am. I'm not a clique person. I'm not into
Mhm.
cliques. I believe that everybody in the world is all equal. I believe
Mhm.
in civil rights and all kind of human rights and all that stuff. That's just who I am. If you click with me, you
Right.
click with me. I might be
Mhm.
harder. That's just my personality. If you could
Mhm.
deal with my personality, then fine. If you can't deal with my personality, I'm okay with it.
Mhm.
You know.
If you're too thin-skinned. Well, fun fact about Everett, okay, the more he picks on you, the more he loves you or at least thinks you have talent.
Oh my God, you picked that up. See, now people wouldn't most pick that. They wouldn't pick, and I've been doing that with
No.
my family members for years, and they're still learning that. They're still
It's the New York, though. It's
right.
the New you know it,
But New
you
Yorkers are
know?
just like that. I like to have a good time and I
Yeah.
like to have fun. It's all
Mhm.
jabs. Even when I go back and I rekindle with some of the people, I
Mhm.
rekindle with voice actors. We jab. That's just how
Right.
we are.
That's just right, right. It is very different. I have friends, especially doing this podcasting and voiceover. I have friends that are in California that they're like, I love that New York in you. I'm like, what are you talking about? I have no idea. Like, you're so straightforward. Well, but what else is there? What else is
Right.
there? Like,
And
seriously.
that's the problem, and I will say the people in LA take it so seriously. Listen,
Mhm.
it's serious. People need to make money. Let's be clear
Oh,
about that.
yeah.
We need
Yeah.
to,
Uh-huh.
to live. But what
Yeah.
we do is a creative process that should be fun. And as one of my agents said to me, if you're not having fun, you need to get out of the business.
Mhm. That's
Because
true.
why waste
Why
your
waste your
time?
life?
This
Mhm.
is a medium that very few people, yes, before COVID, it was small, very intimate. It became more open when COVID hit. Now with the AI stuff that's happening, and people ask, "What's your opinion of AI?" I'm like, technically, right now, as I say, what's currently going on in the world, and I'll
Mhm.
say it, Congress is not worried about AI right now.
Mm.
The
Mhm.
United
Yeah.
States is not worried about AI. I'm personally telling you right now. After the election, that might be a different story. But right
Might be
now,
different. I heard you say that the presidential election affects things. Is this
yes.
what you're talking? What does that
So
mean?
what I'm
Meaning what?
saying is that right now, everyone is holding on to their budgets.
Mm. Mhm.
Any field, people are
Right.
not going to make any decisions until after the election.
Mm-hmm.
Once the election is over, then you're going to see, well, depends if it go one way. If it go one way, then you'll see a smaller budget. But if it goes the other way,
Mm-hmm.
then everything is going to be kind of sort of normal. But I base that on for voiceover. I base that what's going to happen in the voiceover industry. Everybody's all saying,
Right.
"Oh, I used to have all these clients in e-learning or corporate or in video games." Because right now the video game people are on strike. We don't. I know
Mm.
how long the video game people are going to be. I personally know. I just
Mm.
know how long that's going to be because the fact of the
Mm.
matter is, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the holidays. It depends
Oh.
on the sales of the games.
Mm.
See, people don't be thinking about that, and I think about that stuff
Right. Right.
because that stuff
Yeah.
determines, hey, when the sales of video games are so high than the things going on in the movie industry
Mm-hmm.
that people were buying the games like hotcakes. That's why they were
Mm.
taking advantage. The companies were taking advantage of the voice actors because they weren't getting a piece of the pie.
Mm.
I be thinking,
Yeah.
I incorporate that in my teaching. I incorporate that. All of that should be talked about at the conferences. I've been on a few. I don't hear that. I want to. I hear about acting. How do I get in front of this casting person? Blah blah blah. But you need to be, as a performer. You need to be thinking about that stuff, and people are not
Yeah.
thinking about that. So the
Mm-hmm.
judging of the outcome of what's going to happen with the election could tell you about the sales of the games that's going to occur.
Mm-hmm.
Then they can go
Yeah.
ahead and because television is shifted. Listen, I make a joke about it. Television used to be free when I was a kid. I can't speak about
I
anybody else.
know.
TV
Right.
was
I
free.
know. I know it
These
was. It was
streaming
free.
services and stuff like that, and people
It's
merging and stuff.
crazy.
It's
Yep.
shifted everything. And ladies and gentlemen, people need to be paying attention to it. They're not paying
Mm.
attention. How does it
That's true.
I say, how does this affect me? How does this affect my career? The new world.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you should be sitting there thinking about. Not
Right.
how do I get in front of this casting person so they can go ahead and book me. You got to come.
Mm-hmm.
Your career needs to be a strategic plan. That's what
Mm.
I do with it. My students, we come up with strategic plans.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
people don't think like that. They're all worried about I want to be the new blah blah blah, this and this. And I be looking at them. That's the old way of thinking. You're not thinking about the new
Mm.
way of thinking. So
Right. Yeah, that's
that's
true.
me in the
That's
spiel.
true.
That's my spiel.
I like that spiel, Everett. I love it.
The world is not, and I'll say it this way: if if Kamala gets in, I'll use her for example. If she gets in,
Mm-hmm.
the women don't even know. The women, they're
Mm.
going, it don't matter what skin color you are. The women are
Mm-hmm.
going to have so many more jobs. It's not even going to be
Mm.
funny.
Mm.
I'm telling you.
I like the sound of that.
I don't even know what to, now, especially if you of color, it's even a
Right.
more thing.
Right.
That's
Mm-hmm.
something that
Mm-hmm.
people are not even thinking about. They ain't thinking
Yeah.
about it. It was called to my attention. They said people don't even know, Everett. The women's
Mm.
movement when Harvey Weinstein and all of that came in and the empowerment of women,
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
escalated women's careers.
Yeah.
I got actors
Yeah.
who were coming to me, saying to me, who's of a different color, Everett, I don't know what you do. I don't know what to tell you because this world has shifted. You have to now be strategic in your career. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be. I tell my friend all the time, they say, oh, remember, blah. You can't be living in the past. I'm not a person that lives in the past.
Mm.
That's just not my
Right. You
personality.
can. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm a wonderful loving son, but I'm like, well, Mom, throw it out, throw it out, throw it in the garbage. My father,
Yes.
I'm my father's child now. I'm my father's child now. Throw it in the garbage. Just go.
Throw
No,
it out. You don't
you
need
don't need
that.
it.
You
The
got the memories if you
pictures,
need
the
memories. Got them in your head.
pictures are the memories, not items. Oh, that
Right.
used
No,
to
it's true.
be, grandma's thing. So sorry. I'm so
Yes.
sorry. I'm so
Yeah, I know it's
You know,
true. It's true. I understand.
you
It's
know,
true. We only have so much space.
yeah, to move and grow. But that's how I see the world.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
relate it to how it's about, oh, okay. So I'll even go back to when I was traveling.
Mhm.
I did something that nobody else was doing. And it was called to my attention. Everett Oliver is traveling all over the world. I'd be and how it was said to me, and you just be a passing and stuff like that, and people go, "Oh, I know who you
Yeah.
are." I just be looking at everybody, like,
I love that.
and I'm not here to be bragging about it. It's just a thing
Right.
of, oh, I call it networking.
Mhm.
My family always say,
Mhm.
"You the biggest networker that no, I've ever met." You just go and just
That is
what you
so
call it
great.
because I just retain all the information. And so when
Right.
I was traveling, I was really technically networking. That's even Tim Friedlander said
Mhm.
something to me. That's how Everett Oliver built his business. But he was
Yeah.
because I was a booth director at my agency, and my
Right.
agent said to me, and I did it. It's probably me watching too much soap operas. I will admit that. How did you do that? How did you do that? And I'm
Right.
like, did it right underneath your nose. So sorry.
I was strategic.
I
That's
would,
how I did it.
and because I
Oh my
listened to
gosh.
actors, and actors said to me, "Everett, you can do this." So yes, by me
Right.
traveling, I was the first that did it.
Mhm.
Caster, I didn't even know that people knew I was doing it. But I was having a good time. I was having fun,
Fine.
meeting
That's so
everybody. I
funny.
was like, you can't do LA. You can't do LA. You might be able to
I
do
love it.
LA. Well, what do you?
Right.
But that means not that you can't do LA now. You ain't ready for it
Right.
now. You,
Exactly.
but I'm giving you
Exactly.
something so you could build. That's on what you want to
Mhm.
do.
Right, and if that's what you wanna do, because when we got together, I didn't want to do LA, but you told me you're not LA, and I go, "I know, and I don't
Right.
care." But, it just
There you
depends.
go.
And for animation, like you said, you could do I like you I could do little animate
You could
not
do
LA
preschool.
animation. You could do
You could
stuff
do
like that.
preschool.
Yeah, a different just like that audition we listened to. That's an animation of my voice animation, but I listened to you say something, and this is so me too. You said you were an adult as a child, which is me.
Mhm,
So I think that's part of my reason why I don't play well when I'm in my auditions.
mhm.
I'm not a good playing
Well,
person. I have to learn to play
here's
more.
the deal. So I went to view Atlanta years ago. It was an African American woman. She had pearls on, she had heels on, she had earrings on. And I said to her, "You were an adult as a child." And she just looked at me. She just looked at me. I said, "You was an adult as a child." And she said, "Yeah." I said, "You never played."
Mm,
The minute I
yep.
told her to take those pearls off, take her heels off, take her earrings off, the little kid came in her. And
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
so, I watched her transform. And
Wow.
so that is when you do an animation, you have to be a kid.
Mhm,
That's how these people, that's how I'm listening to Cree. She's having fun. She's not
mhm.
thinking about it. She's
Right.
playing. Same thing with the video games. They're all playing.
Mhm.
But all that corporate stuff that I'm hearing, I'm like, you'd be great for e-learning, right? You'd be great for this.
Right.
Oh, I don't do that animation stuff. Animation is not for everybody. I understand that.
Right.
But
Right.
you need to, it's past trauma that people
Mhm.
have to deal with and that I have to coach them through it. But like I said,
Mhm.
this is supposed to be what we do is supposed to be fun. Not
Right,
to
and
be
if you don't
taken
like the
so
genre,
serious.
don't do
Don't
it.
do it.
Yeah,
And you cannot
don't do it.
do it all. You can't do
No.
it all. You can experiment in each industry and your voice acting because it's really voice acting. It's
Mhm.
voiceover, narration, e-learning, promo, documentaries, all of that, live announcing, all of that is voiceover. But it's really the acting part that we as coaches need to be stressing. It's your acting, it's your personality,
Mhm.
because you are only just you. I don't know. I don't really
Right.
know if they stress or not because I don't really see many of my colleagues, often by
Mhm.
choice. I'm a personal appearance person. So I make personal appearances because, and I
Mhm.
remember stuff. I retain
Right.
stuff really, really quickly. And then I pinpoint and go, that's not for you. You know that, right? but you gotta pay me for it.
I love
You gotta
that.
pay me
I
for it
love that.
because I'm gonna tell you, no, you need to pay me for it because I'm not
Right.
here to sugarcoat nothing. That's not
Yep.
what my thing is. I'm here
Mhm.
to guide you. I'm here to guide you, and then after I guide you, and your wings open up and you take off. If you
Mhm.
see me, because some people have seen me and have said
Right.
to me in the past, "Oh, um, one of my students said I was on with Karen and I can't think of evocation, and
Okay.
one of my students said something to me that I think I almost dropped and hit the floor because I didn't know I had did it. And they said, Everett, they introduced me to somebody and they said Everett was the first person that got me an LA agent. I almost hit the floor.
Oh,
I just almost hit the
wow.
floor because
That's so
I
great.
didn't remember, but it stuck with me. And I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I
Yeah.
did." There's like it didn't even
Uh,
matter if it was whoever I connected them with, but they was like, "Yeah, Everett, you had did that," and and for
wow.
me, that's just gratifying for me to just say, "Okay, I've done stuff out in the industry in the world, whether I've done a demo
Mhm.
for you, whether I've done, I've done a connection." And the thing about it is because I remember
Mhm.
if I ever get hit in the head with something and something's off, you'll know there's something he remembers, then he's fine. You'll know he's fine.
Yes.
Some people
Yes.
even say I might hit birthdays and go, "Oh my God, you remember that?" Yeah, I remember. I
Uh,
remember stuff, silly stuff like that, that it just sticks with me. That they'll go, "He's
yeah.
fine." If he could tell you his
I
birthday,
love it.
you're fine. If he could tell you a little sample about yourself, like for example, you got twins, daughters,
Yes.
right? And it's so funny. I remember that because even one of the students, she came to me. Um, I was at the Silvers conference, and she came to me, and she's like, "He's not." I'm talking to somebody. She's standing off to the side whispering. She acted like I can't hear her, which was hilarious. And she's whispering, he's not gonna remember my name. He's not gonna remember my name." So Sarah, and I'm gonna
That's
put her on the
great.
spot. Sarah comes to me like, "Oh my God." So I'm talking to somebody and we're chit-chatting about something. And like, "Sarah, I can hear you, right?" She's like, "Oh my God, you remember my name?" Sarah,
Ah.
you have, I think your boys are twins or something like that. And she was like, "Oh my God, you even know that?" She's like, "I can't even believe you. I don't even remember telling you that." I'm like,
That's
"Sarah,
so
we were having a
funny.
conversation. I just retained it. I was paying attention to you. I do when I'm in front of you. I do
Yeah.
listen, but I
Right.
want your story to be short, quick to the point, and not long
Exactly.
drawn out." Bec-
Don't draw out. Don't draw it out. And actually, one of my twins, I'll give her a shout out, created the theme song to Time to Elevate podcast. She's a singer songwriter.
So
So, Victoria, shout
see,
to you.
now I'll remember that. That's gonna be a trivia question that I
See?
will
That's
remember
gonna
that.
be
Watch,
good.
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask you
Oh,
next
trust
time I
me.
see you. I'm gonna ask you. So before this is such goodness. I have to tell you, Everett, I have this little. It's not a jar. It's but a box. It's my little goodness box that every day I'll put one thing in there. For my there's goodness all around me, and I'm putting Everett in it today because I love it. It's so
Thank
good.
you.
But I want to ask you my signature question, which you answered so much already. But do you have something that you can share a moment in your life or career, or could be personal life, where you experienced resilience, divine intervention, or a time you had to pivot something major?
It was probably when I was at the agency. When I was
Okay.
at the agency, um,
Mhm.
I have a gift. I've always had a gift. I didn't know how to use the gift, but I used the gift while I was at the agency. At the talent agency, directing actors in talent. And I had a cousin that I was talking to because I'm one of these humble people because I'm not out there with a T-shirt, blah blah blah, because I don't care. That's my New York attitude is like, don't,
I don't care.
do
Like it
not
or don't
put
like it.
attention. You might think that I want attention. Let's be clear. Let's let's
I
be
know.
clear. That's just who I am. I'm not trying to seek attention. There's some people who are.
Yeah.
That's not me. I'm
Mhm.
just a straight shooter.
Right.
But it was the epiphany of I had something that nobody else have. And I've believe it or not, Bob Bergen said something to me. Um, and Ganguza said something to me. Those two, and it was two separate occasions. And they said, Everett, you have a gift. And I said, well, I didn't want that to be the forefront of who I am. And they said, no, Everett, use your gift. And that was the epiphany of my
wow.
life of, oh, wow. Because my thing was like directing. Someone said, Everett, you're going to be a director. Direct what? You mean direct traffic? To be would it be a crossing guard? You know, I'm gonna be on the lot. You know, come this way. You know, like a theme park. So it's that
Oh my
aspect of
God.
that's the epiphany for me
Mm-hmm.
of wow, there's something that you have that you'll bring. You'll do something for people and direct them. You know, you guide them on their
Mm-hmm.
path. You direct them. You'll
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like I'm bossy. Sorry,
I like
you
it. I
know.
like it. You're good bossy, but you're not pushy bossy.
No,
There's a
I try.
difference.
No,
You'll say this is it, and if you're not going to do it, you're
if
not
you're
going
not
to do
gonna
it.
do it,
Whatever.
that's on you. I have
Right.
given you what you
Yes.
needed. It is up
Mm-hmm.
to you to do what you call it. And then I think it for me, which I laugh. I use it as a laugh because I think it's so funny when they'll go, I damn near booked that damn thing that you directed me on, and I just start laughing, and I'm like, what? What? Like I did what? I'm like, and you're telling me like 9 months later? What? What?
Oh my
But it's stuff
gosh.
like that
Oh my
it
gosh.
inspires me. But I learned, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
always constantly growing and learning and watching,
Mm.
my colleagues. And Elaine Clark is my mentor, so I keep hearing, "Shut up! Just shout her name out! Just shout her name out!"
Oh,
Elaine is
great.
very she's so knowledgeable. It's not even funny. She's
Oh,
so
wow.
knowledgeable. It's
I
not
know her. I know
even
her. No, I
funny.
don't. I've heard of her, but I don't know her. And
She
that's
knows
pretty.
this. And here's the other epiphany, which it took me so long. But the
Uh,
epiphany was I was bringing LA to the
mm,
folks in San Francisco
mm-hmm.
because they had no idea. Their next step was to make that transfer from San Francisco to Los Angeles if they
Mm,
wanted to embark on that. And it took me
mm-hmm.
like year. I had went up there 7 times. And
Oh,
because I
no.
move fast, so I don't be processing and thinking that way. I'm not even thinking like
Yeah, yeah,
because I'm
yeah.
working. I'm working a full time job, or I was on my own. I'm building my brand. I'm building my business, and so we
Yeah,
click. It's just an instant, thing of you
right.
need to go see Elaine. You
I'm gonna. Yes, I
you
was
need to
trying not to be rude and write
you
down a
need to go
note, but
see
I'm gonna put it
Elaine.
right here.
People need Elaine Clark.
Get
She could
that.
kill me because now she's gonna have tons of people. What you call it? But she'll
Hi,
be fine. Right?
Lane.
She'll be fine.
Yeah.
She'll be fine. She'll be fine.
I think I'm on her email list, and I don't. But I never worked with
Mhm.
her or
But
anything like
she's
that. But
brilliant at
oh,
all the stuff. She knows all the genres. She knows it from a producer standpoint. She knows it from a director
yeah,
standpoint. She knows it from an actor standpoint. And so
that's great.
all of those elements that you want somebody like that's like that, and we
Yeah,
complement.
yeah.
She always says to me, we complement each other. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
I look for, when people come to me, it's I don't know if you're a right fit because I'm tough.
Right, and that's important,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so do you do, like, a 10 or 20-minute kinda freebie for people, or you just gotta go with it?
I do consultations. I do hour
Um,
consultations. You got to
okay.
give me everything. I need to see it
Mhm.
all. Websites, demos.
Right.
I need to know the time you up in the morning. I need the time you go to bed. I need to know how many
Mhm.
kids you got. I need to know your life.
Right.
When I'm doing your
Right.
consultations, I'm nosy. If you don't,
Right.
then I can tell when people are not giving me the information. You're not giving me the whole full information, and I be looking at them. The look
Right,
is
and that
that
doesn't
look
help.
like I can't help you. But that's what I do
No,
from my consultations where I really,
that's
and
good.
then I'm like, here you go. Here's the people you
Mhm.
need to work with. Okay. And
I
I'm
know.
listening. I'm listening. I'm not,
I love when you do that. You've done that to me, like, at the beginning when I first met you, just, like, say, like, quickly, like, "Blah, blah, blah," and I'd be like, "Should I write that down? I should write that down."
mhm.
And then I realized after a while, when you just spit something out and then you go on to talk about something else, I'm like, "Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I gotta put that
Because it comes in and
down."
then it leaves.
It's
It's
important.
important,
Yeah, it's
if you
important.
want to do this, and if you want to, like I said, you
Mhm.
need to I've got a client who this is a hobby for them. I've got
Right,
people who are
right.
making this a career, and I throw that at them. I throw it at people, and they
Mhm.
sit there and they look at me. I had a person that come to me and say to me, hey, I want to do animation, blah blah blah, and this and that. And I said, you booked one job in animation. I don't think you realize how hard it is in animation.
It is hard. It is. Yeah. It's not look, it's fun because you love doing it, but it's not like an easy job. And none of it is
None of
really. I
it.
mean, it's all but you have to
You
love it.
have
You
to
have to
be
love
able
what
to.
you're
You
doing.
have to have money. You
Mhm.
have to have the time. You have to have the
Right.
patience. Some people say
Mhm.
you have to have the talent. You have to have
Mhm.
the technology. You need to be able to do all of this stuff to and able to have a successful career. We didn't have all of this before COVID.
Right.
When
Right.
COVID hit, you could have saw the people in California. They were like, "We got to do what?" All the New Yorkers was like, all the people on the East Coast was like, "We got our booths. We don't know why y'all are so
I know, I was like,
traumatized."
"Yeah." That's
LA people was
because
trauma. They were so
yes.
much in trauma. You would have thought that the 405 freeway fell. You couldn't even drive on the 405 freeway. There was a massive earthquake. That's how bad the LA union and
Mm.
non-union people that live out west because they weren't used to it.
Mhm. Right, right, and listen, it's beautiful if I could walk into a studio, or whatever,
Absolutely.
and go
Just be an actor.
and actually and just be an
Right.
actor, but the convenience and the amount of work you can do better in a booth is completely different,
Mhm.
and that's how I got to work with an agent because during COVID, everything shut down. I'm like,
Right.
"Yes, yes, I'm
And then
ready."
some it worked for people, and then others it didn't work because the fact
Mhm.
is that I know you guys are all. I would say 90% of you are all introverts.
Mm.
So this is why I'm like, okay, and that's
That's
something of
funny.
an epiphany that I didn't know walking into
Yeah,
this thing.
that's
So
funny.
my tough love can't be too much tough love because the fact of the matter is that they're like in the inside, they're crying on the inside, and so they don't know how to be like Everett, and I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, I know you're an
I
introvert.
know.
It's
Then you have to be
okay. Then I
nice. You
gotta be
go,
nice, and but I have to treat you a certain way because each I treat everybody differently
"Yes,
according to the
yeah,
personalities. So there's some people
yeah."
I've gotta be, a little gentle in order for me to what you
Kid
call it,
gloves.
absolutely, to get them
Mhm.
to
It's
realize.
true.
But in animation, listen, you think I'm tough? You really seriously think
Mm.
I'm tough?
Mhm.
Try being with those producers and those casting people, and they need to get a performance out of you in that short
Right.
period of time. I don't care how
Yeah.
nice, I don't care where you live throughout the whole world.
Mhm.
You're going to have to deal with good and bad people. That's just a
Right.
fact of life. So
Mhm.
maybe I'm bringing something new and different to you. So you be like, oh, that person's kind of sort of got like Everett's personality. I know how to do whatever's
Mhm.
personality, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I'm not saying my stuff is right, but we're all facets. We're all different. Some people are gonna be really passive when they're directing
Mhm.
to you, but you're gonna want to know the truth, and that's what I think that what
Yeah.
separates me from a few. That I'm a truth teller. I don't have the
Mm.
energy for that, and I think
Mhm.
as a person, you paying for my services, you need to know.
Exactly.
That's my lifestyle.
Exactly.
That's my thing.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Absolutely.
I love it. But I
Uh-oh.
do want you because we've come to the end,
Yes.
even though I can ask you a million more things. I love talking to you. I want you to close us out with, and hopefully you remembered,
Uh-oh.
your favorite quote.
Well, I'm gonna say it this way. My great grandmother lived to be 100 and said to me, "Don't take any wooden nickels." That's an old Southern quote.
I've
And you
heard
don't want to
that.
know
Okay,
it?
so what
And
does
it
that mean?
means be careful who you trust.
Ah, I like it. I like it.
And
Yep.
so that, I have it on my refrigerator. And there are a lot of people who don't have it for your best interest. I'll leave it as
Mm.
that.
Mm.
They just
Mhm.
don't.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I can't go up against that. If that's who you choose, that's who you choose. You've got to know who you are in order to
Mhm.
work with or study with.
I love it.
That's it.
That's perfect. That is a perfect ending to a wonderful episode with you. And also tell us what's the best way to get in touch with you? Through your website or where,
You
how?
can email me at eo@voiceactingdirector.com, all one word, and just put Time to Elevate in the subject line. So that way I know who you are. So people are not saying,
Great.
"Hey, I heard you on a podcast." Okay, well, which podcast? Could you mention the time?
I love it. I love being the subject line of your emails.
Yes.
And also, there's so many different things on your website as well that they can look around, which is what? Just your name? What is the website exactly?
Voiceactingdirector.com. Voice
.com. And you do lots of
I
great
do.
workshops.
I do online classes. I only have 10 students. It's first come, first serve.
Yes.
My online workshops geared to all of the genres that I have professional people come in and teach you for
Mm-hmm.
2 hours. They have you perform. I have no audits because I don't believe in audits. I believe that
Mm-hmm.
everybody should participate. But the
Yeah.
other thing, I give feedback on
Mm.
the performances for my online. So I take the necessary my time to give you feedback from the class as the instructor does whatever they teach to you. And
Mm-hmm.
demos when I have time to do that. And then I'm traveling again, not doing more as extensively as I was before, but I'm at least going
Mm-hmm.
to be on the East Coast for about 3 months. So I'm
What?
extensively doing that.
New
Yes, so
York?
I'm doing New York. I'm doing the Mavo conference. I'm teaching a class in Philadelphia. So
Ooh.
I'm reaching out to the New York people because I hadn't seen them. I'm going to Uncle Roy's
Mm-hmm.
barbecue. If I missed that, he would kill me.
Are
I'm going
you?
Uncle
When is the barbecue?
September 28th. You better hurry up and you better get your ticket because he is not letting nobody at the
Oh.
door, and he's probably going to have me as a bouncer at the door. I'm trying to reconnect with my East Coast, at least the Eastern Seaboard talent, and connecting with people who I haven't seen. I want to meet more agents. I want to meet more coaches on the East Coast because I want them to partake also in my online stuff.
Yeah.
I'm doing a huge membership program, which I'm closing because I got more students than students. Whereas I meet with them once a month for 40
Mm-hmm.
minutes. And that's
Okay.
another way for me of watching their career grow within a year time span, which I just started
A
doing
one-on-one,
one on
or
one.
is
This
this
is
a
just
group?
one
It's a
on one,
one-on-one thing. Okay.
101
Mm-hmm.
for the mentorship. The career stuff, I'm just laying everything all out for you 101 in that hour time span. You know,
Right.
you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Oh,
And it's easy to just reach out to you and say, "This is what I need," or whatever. Just email
absolutely.
you or reach you that
And nine
way. And
times out of 10, I'll call you. I'm a person that'll call you back.
yes, actually,
I
he
will call you
will.
back.
Because sometimes I'm
I
like,
can't
"I just messaged you. Why are you
I
calling
can't
me?"
deal with the email. I just can't deal with the email
I
because my
know.
brain is moving fast
I
and I can get to you faster by a phone call.
Everett, I love you so much. I'm
Well,
so happy
thank you
to
for
spend
having me. I
this
know I was
time.
rambling and rambling, but I hope a lot of
It was
good
not
stuff. I
rambling.
hope people
It
get some
was
good stuff.
all good, all good. So I will, of course, see you soon. I'm definitely gonna get in touch with Uncle Roy as soon as we
Good
get off
luck.
here,
Good
and,
luck.
I gotta get there. I gotta
Good
get
luck.
there. All right. I love you.
Thank you so much. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Life gets tough,
Bye.
and I know it's hard to cope with the unknown. For all of us, I know it'd be easy if we were perfect, but we're not. So we go to find our faith, to find our hope. It all begins with looking up. It all begins with you. It's time to